Welcome to Bet On It, the college edition. I'm your host tonight, Kelly Stewart, at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Joined by Marco D'Angelo, at Marco in Vegas, and the man, the myth, and legend with 14 names, VR Ace, Gianni the Greek.
Thanks for having me, Kelly.
At Greek_Gambler. Let's kick this one off. The world's largest cocktail party. Definitely on my bucket list. I'm not going to make it on Saturday, though. Marco, Georgia versus Florida. Neutral site, Jacksonville.
I cannot believe you have not been to this one. If there was ever one game outside of your school, Kansas State, that I would pencil you in for, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
I might not make it to halftime is the problem. So
I can see it now. Sponsored by White Claw. Kelly, we got to get them as a sponsor. You got to be working on that. But, Kelly, you look at this one, Georgia, Florida. I think there's going to be a lot of love for the dog in this game with Florida because they're going to look at that game, and you hear me talk about it all the time, the ABC factor, where one team played one team and the other team. Well, the common denominator is South Carolina. Georgia got upset by South Carolina, and then everybody's going to look and say, well, Florida beat South Carolina. So if Florida can beat South Carolina and South Carolina can beat Georgia, then Florida should easily beat, Georgia. That's not the way it works. Plus the fact, let's point out that Florida caught South Carolina the week after they beat Georgia. So you caught a fat and sassy South Carolina team. I think that there's still line value here. I will admit, since they made the quarterback change at Florida, guy gets hurt, wasn't the way to go. They've played much better with the backup quarterback with Florida, but I like Georgia in this one.
All right, VR. Total is 44 currently. It's come down from the opening of 47.5. Looks like 6.5 is pretty much across the board. Not to disagree with Marco, I was kind of looking towards the dog here. I can see why the public may come in on the dog. This is a lot of points for a neutral site game, but this is a Georgia team that is still absolutely loaded with talent and still has a chance now with Oklahoma being a one-loss team to get in the college football playoff.
I was really high on Georgia coming into the season, and it was between them and LSU. I swear I was trying to decide between, because you got to take Alabama and Clemson out of the equation coming into the season if you're going to look for value.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, wait until the championship game and bet those teams, if they get there. Because getting 2-1 on your money on college football future just doesn't offer any type of...
Of course. Why would you want to lock up your money for 6 months?
Exactly. So I went with Georgia rather than LSU, and that was obviously a loss that derailed that college playoff road for them. Here's the thing with Georgia. I think they're the team that's being so overlooked from the beginning of the season for being as loaded as they are. Where on the flip side, you have a Florida team where they're surprising everyone. Like their season win total was, 2 games lower than Georgia's. They weren't supposed to be as good as they are. I think that's where the surprise is, and I think Georgia's a little feels like the disrespected SEC team. I'll tell you that I bet this game already, and here's some of the problems with doing these shows. Our goal is to get the best numbers possible. And a lot of times by the time we film or, you do a radio segment, the line's already moved and the value's gone. And in this particular game, I bet Georgia, as soon as that line came out, I released it to my clients on Georgia. I thought that line's going to move. It moved in my direction. It's up to about a touchdown now. That's pretty much where it was before the season started. I think that's much more in line with where this number should be. I like the Georgia side. I'm impressed with this Florida offense, don't get me wrong, but I think that Georgia defense is just too good. I think they're going to have more success stopping Florida on some of those 3 and outs than Florida's going to have stopping that Georgia offense. And I think eventually this turns into, believe it or not, a double-digit win for the Bulldogs.
All right, next up, we've got Oregon minus 4.5 at USC. This one's coming down, total 63. I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm looking towards the dog here. Go figure. This is a USC team that doesn't do well as a favorite most of the time and thrives as an underdog. VR, do you agree with me?
I agree with you 100%. And, this USC team, believe it or not, their season's not over.
They're number 1 in the Pac-12 South right now.
Exactly. So this is a big game for them. And more importantly, they could derail Oregon's chances at the same time. So this is a huge game. And more importantly, USC, they don't lose much when they play at home. I mean, that's a team that does not lose many games there. And more importantly, when they're catching points, that's the side I want to look. More importantly, sharp money is on the USC side. That's not a problem for the sports books, as they expect more than enough casual bettors to bet the Oregon team. I mean, this is that sexy pick, the Oregon squad, to get to the college playoffs. They're that team everyone's fallen in love with. And it makes sense. They're putting up 70-plus points, and that's what most recreational bettors want to see, a team that could light it up. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against a USC team that hasn't allowed anyone, I think, to score more than 24 against them at home. I think it's going to be a tight game. I agree with you, Kelly. I like the points in this one.
3's a crowd.
Primetime home dog, let's do it. You look at this one, both teams are coming off of close wins last week, but throw those out. They were coming off, both teams. USC was on the road to Colorado in a sandwich spot. You've had Oregon coming in off of the big game against Washington and USC on deck. That was a game that was in consideration for the sandwich spot last week. So I'm not surprised that both teams had close games. But I'll tell you what, the quarterback for USC, when he's been healthy, Slovis, this kid is the real deal. They're putting up points. I know Oregon's defense has played well this year, but this kid's for real. And they put up points against Utah. USC did. They scored 30, the most points anybody scored against Utah this year.
They threw it deep. They were throwing deep. They weren't afraid to go deep.
Utah's defense is the real deal. I think USC gets the job done here.
You're right. That was the last time I was on USC, catching those points against Utah. I think this is going to be another really good close game, but I think USC.
Saturday night also, it's a night game. People don't emphasize enough. You've got to put more in your home field advantage for the night game.
The Coliseum at night is going to be absolutely rocking. I'm excited for this game. I'm going to be on USC. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to put it in my 3-team parlay or not. 4.5, not quite 2-1.
Oregon got that scare last week. I mean, with a minute left, they were behind.
With Washington State.
Yeah.
I was on Washington State last week. I was hoping to catch that money line, but we didn't get there. That's okay. USC gets it done for us this week. Great stuff from you guys. Thank you. We're going to take a step out for a quick break, but when we return, it's time for the Steam Game of the Week from VR and the Sandwich or the Trap Game from Marco.
College basketball tips off Tuesday, November 5th, and we have a tip-off special this week at sportsmemo.com and WagerTalk.com. Get the entire college basketball season through the Final Four from your favorite Sports Memo or WagerTalk handicapper for just $6.95 when you use coupon code CBB300. This gets every play, including 5% plays through the Final Four in April. This is a $300 savings. Hurry, this is a limited time offer available at both sportsmemo.com and WagerTalk.com. Every Monday at WagerTalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com and our sister site, SportsMemo.com.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Each week, all season long, Gianni is going to give us his college Steam Game of the Week, and Marco's either going to give us his sandwich or trap. Marco, we're going to keep him in suspense just a little bit longer. VR, I'm going to start with you. Tell us your Steam Game of the Week.
All right, last week we hit the Steam play on that Thursday night game, I think, or the Friday night game. This time I'm going to go to Saturday. Again, this is a bet I already placed. So, again, this is actually an opinion I did back with my own money, and it got steamed. I gave it out immediately when this line came out. I think as long as you get it before it hits, it's up to around that 6 range. I think you could use it in teasers. I still think you could get 5.5s out there, and that's on Memphis Tigers over SMU. I love the fact that Memphis was already looking ahead to this game and almost slipped up against that Tulsa team last week where they only won that game by a point. And that's exactly what they were doing, looking ahead towards this SMU team who's coming in here undefeated, an 8-0 team, and now catching up almost a touchdown. Books had to shade this number. Power ratings reflected Memphis should be around a touchdown favorite. But the books are in the business of limiting risk, and the only way you're going to do that is by shading your numbers against bettors' biases. And there's no bigger bias from bettors than an undefeated team catching points. And that's why we got such a good number on that Memphis team. And I don't think all the value's gone. Again, you want to try to get the best of it, like Georgia line move, SM line moved as well. But those are legit steam plays, and I'm going to go ahead and still give out Memphis against SMU.
Yeah, VR, I'm seeing Memphis -6, -115, -120 in some spots, but I agree with
7.
I agree with you. It's going to get to 7, and not only is it going to get to 7, come Saturday, the whole world is going to be and lined up at the sportsbook to bet SMU. SMU's been cashing people tickets, and they remember what they saw last. All right, Marco, you ready to feast on some sandwiches?
We're making a sandwich this week, and we're going to go to Big 12. Kelly, I know that is a conference that you follow closely, so you know what a big win that was last week for TCU.
Oh, absolutely.
To beat Texas, that's the big brother of the state. They're in the shadow of them year in, year out, even before they moved to the Big 12. I mean, that was always a big game for TCU when they had an opportunity to play Texas. Now I'm looking at it. They come off that win. They got to go on the road and play an Oklahoma State team. Now, we know the MO on Oklahoma State. Good offense, not so good defense. Oh, that sounds like most of the Big 12 teams, doesn't it? But this is a spot where TCU, off of the big win, and if you're new to the show, what's a sandwich game? Well, it's what happened last week, what do you got next week, and this is the week that it's sandwiched in between. Coming off the Texas win, TCU, fat and sassy, and who do they got next week? I think there's a team undefeated in the Big 12. Who is that? It's not Oklahoma.
It's not Oklahoma. You are correct.
It is not Oklahoma, the undefeated team in the Big 12. It is Baylor, and that's where TCU's heading next week. The Baylor Bears, another team in the state. We're going to go ahead and look at this one. This is the perfect situation for the sandwich. And Oklahoma State, they've scored at least 26 points in every game this year. 6 of their 8 games, they've scored 30 or more. Don't overreact to the TCU win last week. If you dig inside the numbers, you're also going to see the fact that Texas helped them out with 4 turnovers in that game. I'm going to go ahead. I'm taking Oklahoma State. I am laying the 3 on this one. I've got Oklahoma State winning this one 41-30. Oh, shocker. High-scoring game in the Big 12?
Yeah, go figure. Marco,
No surprise there.
We are seeing a little bit of money coming in on TCU, I'm guessing, because we're seeing some 2.5 still. Do you think that it's better to wait on this game?
With seeing that today, I did this last night, and then when I come in, I looked at this morning, some of the offshore sports books have moved to 2.5, which means that'll trickle its way to Vegas. You generally see it offshore first, and then it happens here in Vegas.
Okay, perfect. All right, my favorite segment of the show, Barking Dogs. This is a tough week in college, so I need some help from both of you. VR, I'll start with you.
I got an
Ready
ugly
for your
school.
barking dog?
Yeah, I got a real ugly school. And that's New Mexico against that Nevada Wolfpack. Yeah, these are 2 bad teams. The only thing to like about Nevada is their record's a little bit better at 4-4. With that said, you see this game, the line's coming down. Obviously, the dog is catching steam, and I agree with that. The weakness for New Mexico is that pass defense. Pretty much anyone can pass against them. But if you look at Nevada, this season, they've been running the ball a lot more. In fact, they attempt more rushes than they do passes. So I don't see them being able to take advantage of it as much as they would have maybe in years past. So I'll go with New Mexico as an ugly dog that could win outright.
That is an ugly dog, but I'm not going to lie. When I saw that plus 3.5, I go, ooh, that looks strappy. I think we'll see a lot of people rushing to back the Wolfpack here. So I do like that. Marco, do you have a juicier barking dog? Not to discredit VR's barking dog, but I need like over a touchdown. You know me, I like that. I want better
tough.
than 2
You like
to 1.
It's an ugly week, though.
You like that?
It is really an ugly week in everyone's defense in college football. I mean, I was like struggling to make a case for Florida on my long list, and there I am listening to both of you guys say that Georgia's a play, and I'm like, all right, stop trying to force a play in Florida.
But how easy though is it to take Florida? I mean, you're getting a power dog that's got 1 loss on the season. Yeah, it's easy to grab that kind of dog and do a little sprinkle. You want to have, some big ones.
I do.
Okay.
You gotta have some cojones, huh?
Yeah. Well, how about we go with? Let's go with the team that got beat 45-24 in their last game by Boston College. Okay, Boston College, that's usually like 3 weeks worth of scores to get to 45. They don't put up a lot, but I'm going to go ahead. NC State, they're getting 7.5 from Wake Forest. Now, a couple things here. Both teams are coming off bye week. You've got Wake Forest that during their bye, got to celebrate beating Florida State. Granted, Florida State's not Florida State of old, but they still have a name in the ACC. And for Wake Forest to beat Florida State in football, that's a big win for them. 22-20. Not only was it a big win, it got them bowl eligible already. This is a team, Wake Forest, that's playing well on the season. You look at them, who would have thought Wake Forest this late in the season would be at 6-1? So with that, that's why you're seeing this number over a touchdown. Why is Wake Forest laying over a touchdown in this game? Yeah, they're looking at 6-1. They're looking at their only loss, by the way. What was the loss? A 62-59 loss, Louisville. You know, you go back and forth with that one. So they look as good as they could be in VR. We always talk about we're looking to sell high, buy low.
Of course.
The stock couldn't be any higher
yeah,
on Wake Forest right now.
I'm sorry, no one is rushing to the window to lay a touchdown with Wake Forest.
They don't want NC State in this game.
All right.
NC State, you look at what they've done, lose 45-24. Their last two games before that, they only scored 16 points against Syracuse, and they got beat 31-13 by that same Florida State team that Wake Forest just beat. I'm sorry, everybody is going to be on Wake Forest, and not that you should ever do it in college football. How many people are going to run to the window and make a teaser with Wake Forest? Okay, average Joe Blow that plays their games and doesn't know that there's not a positive EV in betting college teasers, they're going to look at that and say, I just tease them down. They just got to win this game. I like NC State here. I think they can go in and actually pull the upset. Fat and sassy.
Good news. They're down to 7. Looking here, so some money's coming in. They agree with you. I went ahead and bet the 7. You guys, we got a little bit extra time left, so you're in for a special treat. I'm too going to give out a barking dog. We'll keep it kind of quick.
If we're going to let you do one, you have to bark for us.
Yeah,
I am not barking.
You need me bark. No, you're not allowed to give a pick unless you bark. Come on, just a little one. Just a little yip. Little yip. Come on.
Yip.
Yeah, you're more like a little French poodle.
Yeah, my French bulldog.
Yeah.
I just made fun of VR for his little dog, but this is on my long list as well.
Got a +1 on the money line.
Yeah, step it out. Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah, +105.
I'm getting 3.5 versus Utah State. This is a BYU team.
I like it. We bet BYU.
Did you guys? Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
This is a BYU team that I like a lot, and they kind of got pushed to the back burner there for a little bit because they upset me against the Washington spot, but they got it back last week versus Boise State. I think they cash again. In-state little rivalry
Double
here.
revenge for them,
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Either way, I like BYU +3.5, maybe a little sprinkle on the money line. Great stuff from both of these guys. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, it's time for TNA with Mr. Ralph Michaels.
I'm Gianni the Greek Corrales. We're coming off a huge week where I believe it was a combined something like 27-9 in college and NFL combined. It's been a profitable season in both. When I came to WagerTalk a little over a year ago, I didn't promise I'd win for you today because I'd be lying. I can't guarantee that. Instead, I promised I'd do what less than 1% of bettors can do, win for you long term. I'm up over the last 7 days. I'm up over the last 30 days. And I'm up money over the last 365 days. So I'm going to offer you a long-term subscription. That's right, 30 days for only $225. Use coupon code VR225 and jump on board for 30 full days. Get everything, every sport, all access, every day. Get on now, $225. Use the code.
Want up-to-the-minute scores and odds direct from Las Vegas? Then check out our WagerTalk odds page. You'll get all the latest lines along with moves as they happen from all the biggest books in Las Vegas, including Westgate Superbook, Circa, Golden Nugget, Wynn, Stations, CG, and South Point, just to name a few. Best of all, it's absolutely free.
The dogs have been walked, so it's time to bring in Ralph Michaels for some TNA. Guys, love the stat stuff. I know I do. Ralph, you're digging up stuff for us each and every single week. Tell me what you came up with this week. I know last week that play against teams off a 7th loss was absolute money. Tell me you got a couple more.
3-0. And, I want to mention that again. We're not one to repeat the trends and angles, but this one is so important and it's so relevant. When teams lose their 7th game, everyone may not have a goal to win a national championship or win their conference, but everyone does have a goal to get to a bowl. When you have your 7th loss, you can't have a winning record, you can't have a 500 record, and now all of a sudden, what happens? You are bowl ineligible. You start playing younger kids, you start changing the way you play. So when you have home dogs of 8 or more off a loss, they have gone 13-29 against the spread. That is to fade UMass this week and play Liberty. When you have a double-digit away dog off a loss, their 7th loss, they've gone 31-48, 39%, fade Old Dominion, play on FIU. So home dog 8 or more, double-digit away dog, you're off a 7th loss, playing a much better team than you. They've been a great fade play.
All right, I like it. Okay, lots of teams going into the bye week. Last week, you have a play on that angle as well.
A team that wins before their bye is an underdog. And now they're a sizable home favorite of 11-28. So it's not a situation that occurs too much. But in the Big 12, it's going to happen this week. Those teams that won as a dog before the bye, and now they're a home favorite of 11-28. They've gone 16-4 against the spread since 2008. This week's play is on the Baylor Bears against West Virginia. Baylor's a team that's impressed the heck out of me this year, and Matt Rule has them getting done. There's a little change of philosophy the way with Matt Rule now in the Big 12 and at your Kansas State and Les Miles. Perhaps that pass-happy Big 12 is starting to fade away a little bit. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, I would love that. Okay, let's go to the top 10.
Well, bubble burst is something that I, love playing on. And last week we talked about fading Wisconsin in a bubble burst situation. And here's another bubble burst situation for AP top 10 teams. If you are an AP top 10 team off a loss from week 8 on, so this means you were thinking about making the playoffs. You're an AP top 10 and you're at least 7-0 or 7-1. And now you're a home favorite of 17 or more. So you had your bubble burst. Now you're a sizable home favorite. Do you cover? Not very often.
Well, I think that's the problem is everybody expects these teams to bounce back.
Right. You think, they're going to be great. They have gone 34-2 against the spread, which isn't shocking as a home favorite of 17 or more, but they have gone 8-23 with 5 pushes, so only 25.8% against the spread. Those games fade Auburn against Ole Miss this week and fade Notre Dame against Virginia Tech. So clearly 2 teams that had bubble burst situations.
So they're great straight up. So maybe Ole Miss and Tech aren't worth a money line play, but against the spread, they are it. Okay, the last 2 you have for me are a little conflicting, so I'm going to need some extra analysis.
Well, it is. And, why did I pick 2 separate systems? One says to play on Pittsburgh, one says to play on Georgia Tech. Again, we're not necessarily looking for a play on this week. We're wanting to learn why these are successful, the situations they're in, and benefit from them moving forward. So the first system, which says play on Pittsburgh, but again, with a grain of salt, because the next system I have is Georgia Tech. Since 2014, when teams have a win percentage of 60% or higher, and they're an away favorite of 1 touchdown to 2 touchdowns, from 6.5 to 13.5 points, and they're off a bad performance, having scored 17 points or less. So there are some scenarios, and it's not quite clear cut, but away favorite, 1 touchdown to 2 touchdown, winning percentage over 60%. Last game they scored 17 points or less. They've gone 15-1 against the spread.
Wow.
And that is on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh last game against Miami lost and didn't play well and scored 12 points against Miami of Florida, yet they're 5-3, a 62.5 win percentage. So
they do have a chance to be bowl eligible this week if they beat Georgia Tech.
They are. But on the flip side, let's look at an angle that says play Georgia Tech. Teams off a bye that won as a dog of 9 points or more before the bye. I really do like this one. You have a confident team that won as a 9-point underdog outright. They pulled the upset. They're rested. They were refreshed off a bye. They've gone 21-6, 78% since 2013. That is Georgia Tech, as I mentioned, but it's also Oregon State plus the points against Arizona. And next week, it'll be Kentucky plus the points against Tennessee. So one game this week, one game next week for that system.
Marco's not going to like to hear one of those, but great stuff. As always, Ralph, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, it's college best bet time.
Hey guys, Minty talked about taking $300 off the college basketball season in another commercial. Well, you could take $300 off my college basketball season. It tips off Tuesday, November 5th. There are over 140 games. My record the last 2 years, 360 wins, 304 losses, plus 110 units. That means a $100 player is up over $11,000. Don't forget, my last 100 plays have also gone 64-42, 60.3%. College Basketball 300, CBB 300, save $300 off the college basketball price. That's over 5 months of service for just over $100 a month. And make sure you check out the college basketball guide at WagerTalk. It'll be available by Friday. Get returning starters, percentage of minutes back, pace of plays, all the new head coaches, and it'll be free. WagerTalk.com and check out my homepage.
Over the last 7 weeks, in all sports combined, I'm 54-29, netting my clients a profit of 75%. This week only, you can get 30 days of my all-access service, normally $325 for just $225. When you use coupon code MD225. That's MD225. There's no better time to jump on board than right now. All access 30 days, and it includes our 5% major wager plays. Those plays sell for $40 each by themselves. We've got one 5% play scheduled this weekend. Check it out now. Head to my homepage at WagerTalk.com. This offer ends Monday at midnight.
Great stuff from our stat daddy, Mr. Ralph Michaels. Let's bring the boys back. We got VR and Marco, and it's your favorite part of the show, the part you've been waiting for this whole time. Marco gets mad when I tell people just to scroll to the end. Don't do that. Watch the whole show. Time for this week's best bets in college football. Sorry, I always got to joke a little bit. Come on, we got to keep it fun. All right, Marco, I'm going to go to you first. I'd love to know who your best bet is this week in college football.
Well, since you asked so nicely, I'm going to tell you, Kelly. We're going to go to the Pac-12, and we're looking at Oregon State at Arizona. Now, people are going to look at Oregon State. You know, here's a team that coming off a big win for them. They beat California. Now, California's not one of those marquee names as far as the Pac-12 goes, but when you're Oregon State and you beat somebody in the Pac-12, everybody's got a marquee name for them to knock somebody off. So I'm looking here to go against Oregon State. Coming off, and you look at what they've played in the last couple weeks. They went on the road, played UCLA 2 weeks back. Then they had to play Utah. Physical game against Utah. We know what that defense is that Utah has in the Pac-12, the best defense in the Pac-12. But as we were saying just before we came back from break, Kelly, they're physical. I mean, they pound at you. And then they go on the road and play. Cal's got a good defense as well. Offense, not so much, but they've got a decent defense. Got the win there. Now they're going to be playing an Arizona team. And what do they have on deck? They got Washington, one of the big names in the Pac-12. I just think it's a horrible spot for Oregon State. I'm looking at this Arizona team, and yeah, they've been Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde all year long. 3 losses in a row, but let's be realistic. They played Washington, they played USC, and then last week after 2 big games in a row, they played a Stanford team, went on the road second week in a row and lose to Stanford 41-31. Nobody's going to want any parts of Arizona right now. I do. I think we're going to see a big game out of Khalil Tate because why? You can run the football against this Oregon State team. 4 different teams this year have rushed for over 200 yards against Oregon State. Khalil Tate can beat you with both his arm and his feet this week. I like Arizona. I'm going to lay the points with them, and that is my best bet for this week.
All right, VR. I know you've got a good one for us. I'm excited to hear what your best bet
I
is.
got a total for him, but just do me one favor if it loses, because I know I've given some losses on this show. I'm having one of my best college football seasons of the year. I went 8-2 last Saturday, 10-2 for last week in college football. Don't be that guy when it loses to come tweet and say, how did Akron do?
Always.
Like, really, dude?
Always.
Don't be that square.
But VR,
I bet
that's
10
what it
games
is.
a day, dude. Unless you're prepared to come back for every one of those results, don't come for one of them.
We all
I
have
never
that one
understood
terrible
that.
goose
I
egg.
don't understand, like, what compels someone to say, oh, he lost, I can't wait to tell him he lost. Really?
Well, welcome to my life
I don't
on social
get it.
media, because that's
Like-
exactly what it is. Let's cherry pick.
I'm up the
glad-
last 7 days, last 30 days, up for the year.
Yeah.
Like, I document everything. What else can I do for
I'm
you?
still
not gonna
getting
win
flack
every
for the
sample
Broncos
size.
Chief loss on
Still,
two Thursday nights ago.
That's what I'm saying. So let's just get real quick. I had two totals. I had to decide between the two. We steamed two unders. TCU, Oklahoma State, we steamed that under, but it moved too much. One that we steamed that there's still value, that's the Kansas State under. That's my best bet for the week. Go under 55. We bet it at a little bit higher number, but the value's still there. Kansas State coming off that big win. And as impressive as Kansas's offense has looked going to this hyper offense since changing offensive coordinators, they're not going to be able to do this against Kansas State. I don't see that 50 points coming from Kansas in this game. I really don't.
I agree with you. Like you said, this one's already come down from 57.5.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one, and we'll go into it.
I wanted your opinion on that.
This is my thoughts, okay? K-State's going to be able to run the ball against KU.
That's exactly what they're
If
going to do.
K-State does exactly what they did to Oklahoma and owns the time of possession, they will get the win. They should get the cover. This one's been bet up a little bit. I said the line should be 4.5. Circa put it out at 5. 6.5. I don't think I'm going to get to the window with Kansas State, but you're right. That is a correlation. If K-State's going to win the game, this game goes under the
this
total.
has like 27-20s written all over it
many
and not
White-
into 60 points.
How many White Claws did you have Saturday night celebrating the K-State?
Zero.
I've never tasted
come
one
on.
of those. Can you believe?
Marco's brought up White Claws like 4 times.
I know. I
on the show.
keep
He's trying to
hearing
get
White
us-
Claw. I never even had one.
It tastes
Oh, that's
like
Kelly's drink, man.
it tastes like a
What is it like?
It's
seltzer water.
It's a hard seltzer.
It's
is
like
what
a,
it is.
Like think of like a raspberry vodka.
like a
and-
Zima back in the
Back
day?
in the
No,
day.
Zima's actually really good. So you guys hush your mouth.
I
But-
love
I
Zima.
like it, yeah.
I'm a Zima
Yeah.
fan. Are you kidding?
But
White Claw-
please tell me you weren't one of the ones that put the Jolly Ranchers in.
Yeah, I was in high school, Marco. Of course I did.
Okay.
I didn't. We didn't.
All right, all jokes aside, my best bet. This was tough for me to just pick one. This is a really ugly college football card.
It is.
And I couldn't find one to weigh higher than the others. But I'm going to go to a situational spot here. And I'm going to bet against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish laying too many points this week to a Virginia Tech team. This is a Virginia Tech team. Looks like Fuentes is kind of in the hot seat where everybody loved this guy the last couple of years, not so much this year. I think the problem is for me, this looks like an obvious rebound spot, right? Notre Dame gets the bricks beat off them by Michigan. By the way, we all told you that was going to happen. I hope you guys listened.
That was free money.
Free money, but good God, I didn't think it was going to happen in that fashion.
That easily.
Notre Dame is now out of the college football playoff.
I like your pick. Now that
The
I'm looking
Hokies have shown some signs of competitiveness. They've shown some defense, but most importantly, they're coming off a bye week.
And you get up for Notre Dame. Like, even if
Yes.
you're not having a great season, Notre Dame, you get
Absolutely.
up for.
You're going to get up for Notre Dame. This is their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
17.5 points. This is outrageous. I just cannot see Notre Dame being excited. I can't see Notre Dame wanting to throttle somebody. There's just not much left to play for. I mean, at this point, they're going to be happy to go to the Rose Bowl.
Not to bring up bad memories for you, but after Notre Dame's first loss, they played Virginia. We both were on Virginia. They didn't get to cover, but Virginia played that game. There was 2 defensive touchdowns in that game for Notre Dame.
Cheers
So
for old Notre. I just
VR's over here. It's you're
gives me
absolutely right.
goosebumps from
That
a kid.
Virginia play, I will stand by it. That sucked.
Yeah, no.
I was disappointed because you're right. That Notre Dame defense was able to get, but that was a moral victory against Georgia. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were a double-digit underdog in that game. It's different when you're basically a pick'em or a 1-point favorite in
they
Ann Arbor.
still thought they had a shot for the national championship with 1 loss. I didn't think they did that once they had 1 error, but now it's official. 2 losses, dream crusher game.
Forget it.
They got nothing left to play for. I got to agree with you, Kelly. I think it's a good spot for Virginia
is.
Tech, and poor Justin Fuente. You never want to be the next guy following a legend.
All right, guys, we're going to step out for a quick break. When we return, it's our final thoughts on this week's action. Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. All right, guys, we're trying a new segment because we got a little bit of extra time here at the end of the show. Marco's adamantly against it. Why? Because he thinks you guys are going to be all a bunch of freeloaders and just scroll on YouTube all the way to the very end. Please prove him wrong. Plus, our show's funny, and I got a lot to say, but we're going to recap all of this week's picks for you guys. Let's start off with the primetime games here. Looking at Georgia, -6.5. I liked Florida here. I'm kind of glad these two kind of talked me off of it, though. I think they're right. Georgia looks to be the right side. VR did personally play this, but not at this number, so kind of tread lightly there. And a game we all agree on, USC +4.5. Marco literally said during the break, you know that now Oregon's going to win by 3 scores. So
You gave us the kiss of death saying that. All three of us, the game's over.
it just is what it is, you guys. I also like the Trojans. As I mentioned, I want to put it in my 3-team moneyline parlay. So don't forget to sprinkle a little bit on the Trojans. Prime time. There you go. Prime time home dogs. All right, next up, we got VR's Steam game of the week. It's Memphis -6. Tigers, man, laying a hefty price here with one loss against an undefeated SMU team. Guys, don't fall for that SMU trap. VR said this game's already been bet up. Memphis -6. And Marco over here, fat and sassy, his sandwich game. Oklahoma State -2.5. This is an interesting one. It wasn't on my radar, but I will be checking this one out now, Marco, because you're right. I'm not quite sold on this TCU team that has been on a roller coaster ride all season long. Next up, we got Barking Dogs. These are the ones that we like that have a possible chance to win outright. So if you agree with us, don't forget to sprinkle a little bit on the money line. We've got Marco with NC State +7 over Wake Forest. One that I like because who the hell wants to lay a touchdown with Wake Forest? Gianni's got New Mexico +3.5 over Nevada. We talked about it during the show. I absolutely agreed with him. Nevada, this one looks like a trap game. I like New Mexico. And then BYU over Utah State is my favorite barking dog. Last but not least, best bets. We've got Marco with Arizona -5.5. K-State under 55.5. And my situational spot of the week, Virginia Tech +17.5. All right, guys, we got 15 seconds each. Do you have anything pertinent you want to say to our guests?
Good luck with all the games this week. We appreciate you guys watching and tuning into the show. Leave some comments on the YouTube channel. We love to hear from you guys. And I get in there when I'm sitting there gnawing on some chicken wings, and I got
VR, you got 12 seconds to give them a rant. Go.
Smash that like button. Just keep smashing it. And subscribe.
Yes, I agree, guys. If you did enjoy tonight's show as much as we did filming it, please subscribe to our WagerTalk YouTube channel. Leave us a comment below. Hit that notification. As always, you will be the first to know when next week's show is out.